Imagine being born a peasant, yet managing to work your way up financially to the point where you can sustain yourself? All of that hard, gruesome work, only to have your own grandchildren attempt to take it all away from you. Family can sometimes be cruel in their own right, especially if they go as far as scheming a plot to strip you of your land and leave you to your own devices within the jungle. Greetings, salutations, and welcome to our channel. Today, we are here to cover the story of a peasant woman and how her grandchildren made her hide for years without knowing what she will find there. As always, before we begin, make sure to press that like button and subscribe to support our channel so we can bring you more quality stories like this. Also, if you don't want to miss a single one of our uploads, press the bell notification button and turn on YouTube notifications on your smartphone. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Esperansa was a humble peasant lady who grew up in the fields. They lived in an open area where they grew grains to survive. It was safe to say that the size of the land that they owned was ginormous, and because of this, they essentially became the largest producers of the region. They eventually grew so big that even officials of the National Institute of Agriculture ended up offering Esperansa to buy their crops for official exporting purposes. This in turn ended up generating a lot of profit for her. Of course, success does not mean that you will be adored by all those around you, as one neighbor in particular grew quite envious. The envious man in question just happens to live right on the border of the land that was owned by Esperanza's parents. Of course, this man ended up using the close proximity as an advantage. One night, as everyone slept, he used this opportunity to burn part of the crops. The smell of the burning crops reached the nose of Esperanza's father, as he immediately made his way onto the field. Even if it was dark, the luminous nature of the flames made him see that the neighbor was by the flames, as he questioned the neighbor as to why he did it. The jealous man simply replied, claiming that he wanted to see them broke. This causes Esperanza's father to suddenly rage, as he succumbs to a sudden heart attack. Esperanza's mother was enraged by all of this, as she immediately filed a complaint on the neighbor, as she had enough eyewitnesses on the scene to ensure convicting him of his crimes. The neighbor was put in prison, as the woman kept working hard to meet the requirements of the contracts they had signed with the government. The woman worked hard, and due to her tenacity, she managed to keep the production afloat for many years. Esperanza herself made sure to always work alongside her mother, as she always does her best to lessen the workload on her and, in turn, learn all the tricks of the trade. However, a sudden illness fell on Esperanza's mother, as Esperanza's full focus then went towards finding a doctor who can cure her mother. Of course, it was all useless when it was further revealed that the lady had terminal cancer. Of course, Esperanza's focus on going from doctor to doctor, along with her mother, caused her to start neglecting her own planting work. In that particular year, Esperanza suffered many losses, and the inclusion of the death of her mother was a lot of pain for her to bear. Esperanza is 20 years old at the time. She knew that she could not give up on the efforts that his mother and father had put onto the land all those years ago. She kept working hard, managing to reactivate the crops. She even managed to score another contract with the National Agricultural Institute. Since she needed formal training in the field, the institute took the initiative to provide Esperanza with just that. And one agricultural engineer that coached her happened to fall in love with her. Of course, this caused him to visit her constantly until love bloomed and she finally agreed to be his girlfriend. Esperanza, now with the helpful advice of her boyfriend, Santiago, managed to handle the crops far more efficiently, which in turn helped her find the contract that would help her get her back on her feet once more. The truth was that Santiago was a learned man. He did not care about Esperanza's social status as a humble peasant woman, or the fact that she was very illiterate and was unable to read. Santiago eventually takes steps to make her learn how to read and write, as the two move towards the city. However, he only got to see her twice a month. However, this did not stop him from pursuing deeper into their relationship. It was safe to say that they were very much in love, and it did not take them too long, 6 months only of courtship, to come to the agreement that they were going to get married. They kept the wedding simple, but as customs dictated, at least on Esperanza's end, they did not spare any expenses when it came to food and drink. It was a truly marvelous occasion, Of course, not all was well, as the new marriage began without a honeymoon due to the strenuous working conditions that they both went through. Of course, this was not in any way a sour thing for them, as they were still together whenever they could, and it was once or twice a month as she focused on the land. Of course, the happiness of the newlywed couple only lasted for about 4 months, as Santiago met with an untimely demise by the hands of a bull at the cattle ranch that he had to work at. This caused Esperanza to live on as a widow, and a few weeks later, she learned the news that she was pregnant with Santiago's child. In 9 months, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Michaela, who was the splitting image of her father and even came with his charming beauty as well. Like many loving mothers, Esperanza ensured that her daughter had many options when it came to what she wanted to do in life, which is something Esperanza herself could not have for herself. The thought of providing these luxuries for her daughter caused her to work the land heavily. When Michaela was the age of 4, Esperanza sent her to the community school in the area. When she reached her adolescent years, she was even given the opportunity to study in the nearest city. She even ensured safe passage by hiring a neighbor with a motorcycle to drive her to school and bring her back daily. Michaela got selected for university. Love blossomed in her life as she got into a relationship with a young man, who even took over the job of driving her home and back. However, a few months down the line, Michaela was discovered to be pregnant. While Esperanza was disappointed to see this, she didn't scold her, and instead chose to support her daughter in her time of need. After all, she was the only family that Esperanza had. Michaela ended up giving birth to a pair of twins. However, she tragically met her end during childbirth. Esperanza was left with the job of taking care of the children. The father of the 2 children stopped turning up at the house after the birth of his children. The children both grew up to be rather smart, but they did not have the same tenacity to work in the fields. However, they did have great ambition to live a luxurious life without working hard for it. This caused the 2 children to constantly claim that Esperanza was crazy for working the fields this hard, as they noticed that she could live a luxurious life if she just sold the land and earned a lot of money. The twins grew up with this idea festering inside their heads. When the 2 finally reached legal age, they took the initiative to reach out to the landowner that lived nearby, as they asked him if he wanted the land that they owed. The landowner immediately displayed interest. However, when the 2 approached their grandmother, Esperanza, in order to explain to her their plan, she immediately rejected. Of course, in the true fashion of biting the hand that feeds you, the 2 young men began hatching a plot for deceiving poor Esperanza. The plan included stripping her of the rights to her land by using her illiterate nature to their advantage. They heard that the neighbor who burned their grandfather's crops all those years ago was finally released from jail. The 2 young men forged a lie as they told Esperanza that the man from jail threatened them if they didn't sell the land to him. He will murder all 3 of them. They used this as a catalyst to get Esperanza to agree to their business and then later flee to different places to make it harder for the man to find them even if he tried. Scared by the situation that presented to her, Esperanza placed her thumbprint down on a document provided to her by her 2 grandchildren as she fled to the outskirts of the town. She even went as far as to give directions to her grandchildren in case they ever wanted to find her. Granny, we prepared a supply of food for you, so you can eat in your hiding place. Do not leave the jungle until we arrive, no matter how long it takes. Everything is for our safety. Was one of the sweet lies that one of the twins told Esperanza. Esperanza was convinced by her grandchildren as she considered them honest. However, with Esperanza out of the picture, the 2 twins immediately sold the land and earned a lot of money in order to obtain for themselves a lifestyle that they always wanted, without having to work for it one bit. However, it only took a few months to finish up all the money, as the 2 eventually ended up on the streets. This caused the 2 to turn to the landowner that they'd sold the land to, as they begged him for a job and a roof to stay under. The landowner agreed, as the 2 then had to do the one thing that they'd tried to avoid. They finally had to work hard in order to earn a living. The 2 did not bother to reach out to her grandmother due to the guilt that they had, and they did not want her to find out what they had done in her absence. 20 years had passed since then, and Esperanza makes a return, now aged and filled with anguish. She returned with a fortune that she had made during the time by working on another plot of land that her aunt had owned. When it was revealed over time that the land that she'd used to own had the rare substance named black gold within it, Esperanza immediately bought it with the small fortune that she'd made. She then proceeded to make money as she desperately looked for her grandchildren, without even knowing that they were workers within the very land that she finally regained. When the truth was eventually revealed, the two beggars begged for forgiveness, with Esperanza ensuring them that, after all, they were family. However, she did claim that she will not give a single cent of the fortune that she'd made through the land, and that they would have to work for their own fortunes. When she eventually passed, she left all her money to the church and only left the land to her grandchildren in order for them to make a living. We've now reached the end of today's story. What did you think? Did you like it? For more interesting stories like this, subscribe to our channel and press that bell button to get an update every single time we upload a new video. Make sure to like this video and share it with your family and friends. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.